Kirk on the flank finds it down onto one. Riot's already down, so it's a technical 1 versus 2. And Bry just swung to his step. Twizzler on the top floor will look to retrieve their teammates, but a Kirk can find the timing and clutch it out. An ace for Kirk.
But Spider still gets a kill, and an Xer not ready for him in the corner, but oh my goodness, he gets the kill anyways!
He gets the kill, Teddy left alive. He does it yet again for Mirage!
He's low on health, especially when the Vulcan canisters are in play, but now Ambi low as well, but he takes the kill anyways! He's still left. But with 15 seconds and not too much intel as to where they are, it's not looking great for him, but he's just got the isolated frag on Aimkey, and the last one's left in Freezer. This could be a very easy pick to find if he just looks in the right corners with the shotgun as well. He'll be lethal in the close range. A 1-on-2 for the Gridlock.
Already at the halfway point of XGS season number 7 as we come to Playday number 5. Glitter, my name's Navigal, joining you guys today. And Glitter, we've seen some great action throughout the week.
You know, already it has been some incredibly close battles that have been going on. Looking at the Group A here, very top-heavy, as it was called. Lots of 3-0s being the big numbers there. SSG Academy and Maker sitting standalone at the top on the tie. Can't wait to see that one.
Oh, 100%. This group has been very interesting thus far. Like you were mentioning, it's been very top-heavy, but I think that leaves a lot of room for some of these teams at the bottom who haven't necessarily played nearly as many games. Looking down at like Mormon Battalion, I was talking about yesterday how they started off against Makers and SSG Academy, so they got their, quote-unquote 2 hardest games out of the way first, which really will, in my opinion, leave them a lot of room to potentially climb their way towards the top.
Yeah, get the tough ones out of the way first, maybe the ones that were a little bit of a question mark, and then start to rebuild that confidence as you're going back into it. And a couple of teams on there that, of course, they're going to have more of a chance with than their first 2, obviously. Take a quick look at group number B and see where we're sitting.
Yeah, I think Group B is even more interesting than Group A, just because if you look at the points, it's a lot closer from number 3 down to number 7. Sure, once again, you see those first 2 teams in Thrive and the Unks that are sitting up there with 9 points, a perfect 3-0 record. But there's only 2 points between 7th and 3rd, which I do believe will leave a lot up in the air as we go down the stretch of the later portions of this season.
Yeah, and some of the names that are in that are a little bit more surprising, right? Carnico, Aerial Rise sitting at the bottom of the bracket. Not necessarily kind of what we were expecting, especially given some of the previous performances that we've seen out of these guys. So a lot to be expected as we move on.
I think it is fairly interesting as well, just looking at the balance of how many games have been played by each team, because especially for the teams that played like on Monday and Tuesday, have been playing throughout this entire week, they don't really get to see how the season unfolds and how the standings unfold before they have to play a bunch of their games, which is kind of an advantage to some of these teams that haven't played as many games, because they know heading into next week, hey, this is what we have to do to secure ourselves a spot in playoffs, or at least that play-in game to give themselves a shot. But taking a look at our first matchup of Playday number 5, it's Final Form versus OUTLAST. And as you saw based off the standings, Final Form have had a little bit of a mixed result thus far. They had a little bit of a stumble in their first matchup. I believe it was against SSG Academy. Yeah, they lost it 7-3 on Skyscraper. But then yesterday, Glitter, they came back and absolutely just steamrolled Team Sesh 7-2 on Border, and it was not even close.
Yeah, well, I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? We look at their attack rating here, 60%, Border notoriously an attack-heavy map. So maybe when we see them on whatever that they're playing tonight, if it's got a little bit more of that attack favored, we might see some, action coming out of it. The aggression, the quick peaks, the getting into sight extremely early, will definitely be playing into Final Form's advantage tonight.
There's definitely a lot to look forward to on this roster coming into tonight. We saw yesterday that Kobe and Volsper both had fantastic days. They were just gunning on Border against Team Sesh. Everything was going their way. Their rushes, their coordination, their gap spotting was all just top tier throughout most of that game. And I think another thing worth noting is we got to give some credit where credit is due to the support. You've got players like Clouds who are just sitting on that back line and enabling players like Kobe and Volsper to just go in and do what they do best.
That's right. Go in and click heads. So on the other side of the board, taking a look at Outlast and Swifted, Nexus, Exalt, Ace, and Ollie. Kind of a similar attack defense rating. But here's the thing: is it's got some newer faces to the roster, right? It's not that core that's been together for such a long time. So still kind of trying to figure out a little bit of what they've got going on as a team synergy wise.
Yeah, they are a relatively newer team, just based off of what I know about them. But despite that fact, they've put up some decent results thus far. Sure, they don't have a win yet through their first 3 games, but just looking at their opponents, they've played Fluffy Aimers, SSGA, Makers, all back to back to back. And all of those games were 7-5 losses. So they've proven that while they haven't gotten a win yet, or at least that they can't beat these teams, they can at least hang with them and they just don't get embarrassed. And I think that bodes well for them to the future, because if they go back and look at those VODs from the first couple of days and see what tiny little mistakes they were making, they can translate that into much more success throughout the later portions of this season.
Yeah, a little bit easier to correct. A couple of players that we're going to be taking a special look at today, kind of the frag leaders here, Volspor and Exalt. And the story goes, it's kind of a KD versus cost. Who is more effective in the job that they're doing? While we do see Exalt come in with those kills being very frag heavy, very into the door very quickly, impact-wise, looking at Volspor to be kind of that all-around goated interaction.
Yeah, I think just building off of what you were saying there, you see that Exalt dies a lot more often on the entry, which I think contributes to that lower cost. Sure, he can go in and have a big impact on the game, like we saw yesterday against Makers, but he can also be that first death. And with being kind of that central fragger for his team, it doesn't bode well for their success in rounds if he's the one that's dying first. And that's another big thing that they need to work on today, is enabling him even better. Because while sure they've done a good job of that thus far, and he's been, putting up big numbers in terms of kills, he also has had really cold and quiet streaks that they need to really work to negate.
Yeah, so looking to see them get active and early with some drones, getting that communication, making sure that the buddy system is in place. All in all, Nam, I think this is going to be a great game. It's a best of one. It's a sprint to the end. So let's take a quick look at where we're going. Clubhouse and Border going to be gone off the board first. Chalet, Skyscraper to follow next, and Night Haven and Consulate to follow. So none of the new maps Lair to be taken out as well. Bank on the last veto, which means, hey, surprise, surprise, we're headed to Cafe.
XGS Season 7, the season of Cafe to this point, Glitter. But I think overall this ban phase is pretty stock standard from what you would have expected from both teams. Going into it, Final Form have shown that they do not like to go to Clubhouse, so that ban makes sense. With, as well, Outlast Black, they do not like going to Chalet, so they didn't have to worry about that with Final Form banning it out. But Skyscraper as well is not a map that they have proven that they like. Of course, worth mentioning that they ban it every single time. Every single game thus far, it has been either their first or their second ban. So overall, this ban phase played out exactly as one would have expected had they looked at just the general tendencies. But I do think Cafe plays really well into Final Form's hands. Like we were talking about, they've got a very gap spot heavy lineup. They like to just go in and take control. Similar to Makers in a sense, where they will take whatever you're giving them for free. Like there was multiple rounds on Border yesterday against Team Sesh where I was casting with Goose, and Wolfsburg would just sprint in through Break Room and just run down metal stairs and get a kill. So they're really good about just taking what is given to them and just using it to just, steamroll you over. I hate to use that word again, but it's what they do. They get a kill and then they just run away with it.
Yeah, some of the games, of course, that we have watched going on with Outlast. I think this is going to be a very interesting matchup, right? We're going to see a lot of that vertical presence being put in. It's going to be both floors, all the way up on the third, all the way down on the basement, hoping to see some active individuals going on, something that's going to disrupt some of that gap shooting that we have seen on Final Form. Either way, we're getting into it. Let's talk about the bans.
I would not be surprised to see some sort of Monty and a zombie combination coming out here from Outlast Black. They don't like those operators at all. They've banned them 2 out of 3 of their 3 games so far. The Ying ban as well makes sense. Final Form hate going against the Ying. They banned it in both of their games thus far in this season. So pretty stock standard at this point. This should be the Monty, and indeed there it is. As far as the defensive ban for Final Form, I wouldn't be shocked if we see a Valkyrie. I feel like this is like one of the strongest maps for Valkyrie because, like you were talking about earlier with that vertical destruction, it goes both ways. And if you use those Valkyrie cams effectively, you can have a lot of effect with some C4s.
Little bit of a switch up there. They're not going to go with the Azami ban. It is going to be Mira taken down. And honestly, it makes sense, right? Doesn't matter if you're Bakery, any of the second floor sites, you're going to be seeing that Mira put up on the third floor. And it just makes it ridiculously tough to push into. You have to expend a bunch of gadgetry and utility to even take that real estate that they're so quick at getting. But it is going to see Final Form to take Azami off the board. So Outlast not going to have to worry about that. Pretty stock standard, but what does that mean? That means the Valkyrie is on the board. Intel and opportunity headed our way.
Should see a lot of focus being placed here on the intel. No Valkyrie present in round 1 here for Final Form. Instead going for the 2 other primary intel gathering operators, more so focused on site anchoring more so than just roamer and plain intel. You've got those yokai canisters, or not canisters, you've got those yokai cams, and you've got the eagle eyes as well. So a lot of focus being put here initially from Final Form on playing towards that late round. And I feel like as well that Mew will be a big factor in helping them with that strategy because it'll take Outlast Black a lot longer to get their drone work going in.
Yeah, and that's, of course, what you absolutely need, especially when you're trying to take some real estate here in Cafe. Not going to start out on the third floor. Primary going to be on the secondary. On the attack side of it, going to bring some operators to deal with some of that gadgetry. Brava going to be on the board. Ram to bring out that verticality that we were talking about. And then somebody that we've just seen a ton of lately in the comp scene, it is going to be the Finka on the LMG. And man, honestly, I'm excited to see that back. Quick run out here does do a ton of damage onto Legion, and they are there. Swift to take items off the board. That's going to give the man advantage directly over to Outlast, and it's going to give it to him real easy. Does get equalized here as the shotgun from Evil Clouds is going to ring out. That's going to put us into a 4-4.
It seems like Outlast Black initially wanted to go for a bit of a rush up white and maybe take some initial early control. And while sure the idea there was pretty good, you know, it doesn't really go too well when Clouds is just sitting on the top of white stairs with a shotgun. So while they seemingly might have had a grab, it seems like as well that Mute might be hurting them in multiple ways just because they tried to drone up. They thought they had good intel, but it turns out that they didn't. They were not accounting for the Mute himself just sitting there. Now we find ourselves in a 4-on-4. But Nexus has one of these Brava drones going in. I believe they're called Floods drones if I'm literate. But still, gonna have a lot of value here potentially coming in as the Finka just jumps right in.
You're going to take it too. Nexus taking Bullspur. And definitely the trade's ringing out in a C4 from Evil to take Exalt off the board as he finds himself on the double nom. Puts us into a 3v2 with still a minute and a half left. Some early aggression has not capitalized here by Outlast Black. He finds himself down in the body balance.
The good news for Outlast Black is they still do have the Ram alive, so those boogie drones can still have some effect with the Vert. But you're not going to have nearly as much effect because you don't really have the bodies to be able to play off of that vertical control as effectively. And in the meantime, Final Form are just going to be very keen to sit back and wait. They've vacated the top floor and have instead just opted to bunker themselves inside of the site and wait for these final 2 Outlast Black members to come to them.
And why not, right? They have something like 6 cams on the board. You're just not going to be able to pull the sneak here. Already location has been given away as that Ram drone Boogie does, of course, start to put some pressure on from the vertical, and they're going to find the first one as Ron's going to take Sense off the board for being huge here. Now puts us into a 2-2, which looks like a lot more winnable situation if you're on the attack, except for Evil Cloud's going to just keep the bodies coming. He is going to get traded out as now puts us into the old-fashioned 1v1. The shots through fireplace here as to rotate around, and that's going to be the plant starting to get stuck here. This is, of course, one of the only plays left. It's 20 seconds. They're going to go ahead and stick it. They've got him on cam. A couple of live pings go through, but not going to amount to the kill. Doc versus Ram. Got to have 7 seconds on the board here to get it done. Sees his head, takes a shot. Doesn't amount to anything just yet. The world's most dangerous game of Ring Around the Rosie here as the live pings start to go out. Those cams making a huge difference here in the late round as they're able to push up and know his location. Now, up to the top. Going to get for some of that vertical, but this is the plant getting diffused right now. Puts himself on it, makes the swing, and that's going to take one for Swift.
Beautifully played there by Swifted, honestly. I mean, looking at that, he fell back when he needed to. He baited Kobe into a potential spot where he thought he was safe to defuse. And then when he heard that the player was trying to stick the defuse, he just ran up, found a pretty easy kill. Outlast Black with a great start to round number 1. And I think that generally they played that situation pretty well. While sure they lost a couple of early bodies, they played for what their biggest focus was heading into that round. They played for the verdict, and they got that control. And while sure they had low body count, that didn't phase them. They took that control, and they then continued focusing on their plan to translate it down to the first floor. They jumped in, they won their gunfights when they needed to, despite the fact that, like you were talking about, they should have been in the intel deficit there, which was a big misplay for Final Form. They had all the intel in the world, and they just didn't seem to have the confidence to take the fights when they needed to win that round out.
Yeah, I guess that's the other half of it, right? Knowing where they're at, seeing them on the camera, getting those pings out, that is part of the battle, but being able to capitalize off that intel just was not in the hands of Final Form on that one. So, gonna switch sites, we're gonna switch up ops a little bit as, hey, we asked for it, and here it is. It's the Vigil out, and he's gonna be rocking the Boss G alongside one of the newest operators of Recruit, Sentry, on the board. Love the combo interactions that have been coming on with this new operator. I think this is a fun setup. A little bit of area denial, a little bit of roaming shenanigans, still going to have that shotgun present for whatever quick action is happening. And speaking of quick, Swifted right now, already making his way into the bottom of the bar, getting droned up for that first kill.
Oh, we might be able to have it here. I don't think they have any idea that he's here. That's just a teammate shooting right behind him. He spots a player. Volsberg eats some damage, but is still allowed to persist inside of mining. This is going to be a crucial first engagement, because if Volsberg loses this, the middle floor is pretty soft right now for Final Form, and Outlast Black could capitalize off that. But right now, they're still just being patient. No call going to start to rain out, but Swifted will die in the opening engagement. Volsberg is quickly traded out, however, by Ace. So the opening engagements are still coming in. They're in favor of Final Form, as they're able to get another response onto Exalt, and what seemed to be a sneaky play from Outlast Black has gone horribly wrong.
Now the body balance is shifted over to Final Form here, as not only do they have the man advantage, but now the time going to start playing a factor here. I mean, it's a lot. They still have 1:30 on the board, but you got to take a second and find out where the rest of this team is at, because there was only one person down on the second floor. Vigil does get taken out. James finds himself on the double kill, but it's refragged immediately. Nexus going to go, now puts us into a 3v2 situation. Final Form, yet again, staying up in that body balance. Will they be able to capitalize towards the end of the round here? Well, it's looking pretty good, Nam. I'm thinking so in this 3v1.
Oh yeah, definitely. He just swings right into a mute, sends there with the SMG-11 with an absolute freebie. Well, seemed like Outlast Black might have had a decent chance in that round. That first opening engagement, Glitter, really came back to bite them when they lost that. And then, as a result, they lost all of that control they could have gotten.
So here's the question. Was it the gun, right? I mean, I personally, I don't think the FNG is a great gun to be utilized, and missed the shots, right? If he gets that, that's a round changer, because as you were talking about it, there was only one person down on the second floor. It was a whole third floor hold, I believe, for the rest of the members. So all of a sudden, you take up all of that real estate down on the second floor, and then get your crossfire set up and yourself ready for the plant. If he hits that shot, it could have been a different outcome on the round for sure.
And not only that, it gives them a free spearhead into the middle floor that isn't really being watched by the defense. They could have just walked right into red and mining and just walked right into sight. So a big engagement. And that was something we were talking about in the pre-show, is the fact that these entry engagements are so crucial for Outlast Black. And if they lose them, especially if it is Exalt taking those fights. Well, in the last round it was Swift, but still the point stands. If they lose the opening fight, they don't necessarily seem to have that oomph to fight back and really punch back on the defense and keep themselves in a round. Now, we are down to the kitchen here for the third defense for Final Form, and similar strategy from what we've been seeing from them so far. A lot of emphasis placed on util, specifically towards the intel, and a little bit of late round denial as well.
Yeah, a lot actually, right? It's the smoke, the Goyo, and the Fenrir. Oh, look at this, just getting into that entry, but not gonna take it, just gonna miss. It does get traded out as Ions finds his life forfeit in that exchange, and that's your health. That's the global gadget of Finka off the board. Was able to get a burst out before death had consumed him, but that's going to be the Legion the next fall, and that's going to put the body balance back into favor of Outlast. It's going to start favoring some of that explosive action that we were talking about here in the pre-show.
Arguably, you've lost two of your most important defenders here if you're fighting. You've lost your main area denial, and you've lost another. Well, actually, really, you've lost one of your main intel and area denial operators. Now, Kobe is trying to take a fight here with the Deimos, and Ace is starting to shoot away the Vendetta, but no kills coming yet. Here comes the reswing from Kobe. He gets down and punished because of it, but still, Final Form are able to keep themselves in the round off of a nice kill from Sens. Still, however, like you were saying, Outlast Black with a huge advantage, especially with Clouds being the only one near the site.
Yeah, and the low health Fenrir, who is going to get taken down off the Deimos ping, now puts it all onto the shoulders of the Goyo. So much time for this attacking team to suss him out, get a drone on him, take the swing 2-1, and don't worry about the vector and how fast that gun is going to be shooting at you. So 3v1, minute and 13 left on the board. It seems like the story is all but written here as the Deimos ping does go out. Be able to see the attack get inside, start the attack plant going down as the call goes out. He's on back of the stairs waiting to take the gunfight.
Yeah, this is not an ideal situation at all for Clouds. A 1v3 against the Deimos. He has, however, used all of his Deathmark trackers, so now he can have a little bit more freedom to roam, and he will claim a kill on an Exalt. So now 1v2, a little bit more manageable for him here. With the time ticking away, however, it's not going to be very winnable for him here. He's going to try and walk his way down red stairs, but some of those Grimbees are as well going to be giving away his position and slowing him down too. He's just burning away at time. He's made very little progress towards killing another one of these players, and even more so, giving himself a chance. Now, Ace will be there all the way over inside of Whiskey. That's another pretty easy closeout here for one of these teams, and this time it goes Outlast Black's way.
So it's kind of looking like that if you get the round started in your favor, you're definitely bringing about that success towards the end of it. Outlast with a quick two-piece, able to claim that round. Put us 2-1 here as we head into 4.
Yeah, heading in around okay. Worth mentioning that this is, of course, not 3-3. We've got 6 full rounds of defense here, and it really, Final Form need to win another, at least 2, I would think, to give themselves a fair chance in this game. Now, it's worth mentioning that Cafe is generally pretty even. It's about 50% both ways so far through this season, but right now, Outlast Black look pretty comfortable. I mean, sure, round 2, they had that weird rush that didn't work out, but other than that, it's been pretty much all of them in the early round. Now, looking here back at mining for the second attempt, we've got some similarities from the first try, but one big piece that's missing is going to be the swap from the Echo to the Vigil. And while sure, I think that Vigil is great because it does offer a little bit more of that drone presence, one of the big things that kept Final Form in round 1 was that plethora of intel, and losing that Echo, you're sacrificing a lot of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, bringing that Boss G, while it is a hitter, right, it will get them kill. It will net you some death for sure. In a 1vx scenario, definitely is not the ideal weapon to be bringing to it. So hopefully he stays alive, going to be able to be an impact for his team here. It is 2-1. And we're going to start to see him get going. They brought the Brava back now, of course. There's a ton of that gadget. It's going to be great to take one of those cameras. It's going to allow you to shoot back and maybe put a little bit of pressure, a little bit of chaos inside of the site as well. Honestly, I'm a big fan of how this attack team is set up and the operators they keep bringing. Get that roam game out. Well, I was going to say, try to get that roam game out of there with the Deimos, but he's going to find his life forfeit on the early kill here, putting the body balance in the hands of Final Form.
That is definitely a big loss for Outlast Black, but they've still got pieces to contend without the presence of the Deimos. They've gotten their, like, 4, I would say 3 operators. You've got the Hard Breach, you've got the Brava to get rid of a lot of the Defender utility that's being brought out, like those Evil Eyes most prominently. But you've also got your primary vertical operator with the Ram still alive, and that's going to be crucial here, especially if they win this fight. It seems like there might have been a player over towards Heaven, but Swifted actually will be the one to get the next kill as it's Kobe to fall, and that's a big loss for for Final Form rather, with the dog dying. Nice shot from Volsper at the top of White Stairs. Dunks on Swift, it puts him in the grave. Final Form regain the lead in this round, as well as Volsper is able to get right back to the site.
And it's such a huge kill, too, because they took away that vertical presence as soon as that went down, and they did it up on the 3rd floor. So it is. Man advantage is going to sit in favor of Final Form here for the last 60 seconds, which, of course, is going to put them more favorable in the situation. All of the pressure going to be put onto the attack team now. Now, we are watching Vigil still looking like he's about to come up potentially on the next bit of kill here. Still opening up that ticket area with 45 seconds left. Now, it feels like we're starting to run out of a little bit of time here.
Yeah, especially with the fact that Ions has the coverage over from Pillar. I believe that's T area. And nonetheless, hang on a moment. Ron might just be able to walk right through here. They know that there's at least one player inside of Pillar, but it's really scaring Ron, the fact that he doesn't know where the other members of Final Form are. Tried to go for the defuse initially, will do some damage to Volsper, but internally some damage of his own. Ions will get another kill, and Sens runs right up to get another one. Clouds! Final Form just lock Outlast Black out of the site. They finally respond with another round to tie the game back up to 2.
And that was just a great play there, right? Having the discipline to wait, having the discipline to make the attack team move. You have the body balance, you have the man advantage. Now all you have to do is rely on the trade game. Didn't even need it there at the end, but that's the great thing about all of that, those cameras that were being brought to the table. They knew exactly what was going on. Now Bravo was able to steal one of those Maestro cams, but it just wasn't enough to get intel on where that last player was. And they capitalized. Just push, swing, win the round, and that takes us up to a tied 2-2. See something a little different from Final Form here on the next one. Head up to that 3rd floor. They're going to bring along a little bit of that pace setter, Nom. They're going to bring out the Castle. It's one of my favorite operators for that specifically, right? If you know the team's going to be aggressive, you know they're going to take real estate very quickly, put some things up, they're going to delay that a little bit. The Castle, the Fenrir, the things that are going to keep them out of sight, funnel them into those areas that you want to attack from.
Oh, I 100% agree. I love Castle, just in general, but on this map especially, there's so many great uses, and most prominently, on this floor, there's so many different windows that you have to worry about. There's so many different doorways that you have to worry about. And bringing that Castle can negate a lot of that and create a lot more funneling like you see here. You Castle off Cigar, and you make it so that Outlast Black just have to walk right in, but somehow Clouds is dead. I believe he looks like he might have tried to go for a bakery run out. But nonetheless, that's an absolute freebie for Outlast Black at the start of this round. And while sure, like I was talking about, that Castle will create some extra safety and create a little bit of funneling, it's not going to be quite as effective if you don't have as many guns to watch those different areas.
Sure, or the C4 to back it up when you funneled them in, right? Valkyrie, one of the most important parts for you get them into that funneled area and then send a C4 up. Find yourself 1 or 2 of those kills. Instead, Valkyrie going to be relegated to her own cams. Now, they do find that cam that has been... Oh, no, that was the drone. Excuse me. They find the drone that was watching onto the White Stairs, so a little bit of that communication is going to be gone, but Exalt going to find Volsper off the board, and that's going to put the advantage heavily now in favor of Outlast Blacks. They're able to find one at the top White on the stacks as well. Now putting all the pressure onto the Warden and Castle left alive here on the 3rd floor.
Yeah, Final Form have gotten way too aggressive in this round. They're just swinging way too much, trying to peek stuff, trying to bring the body balance back into their favor, and every single time they try, it just gets worse for them. They find themselves, like you mentioned, in the 2-on-4, now 1-on-4, and for some reason Ion just walks down the White Stairs and gives his body away for free to Ace. I'm not sure what we're doing right now, Final Form. Now Kobe will jump right over onto White Stairs, shut Ace down, so now 1-on-3, but that site forfeited for free. That means that Nexus can walk right in here and try to get this plant down, especially without the fact that Kobe doesn't have a C4 in his pocket. The plant will successfully be confirmed, so now Kobe finds himself not only in a 1-on-3 on a different floor, but also in a post plant. And I don't know if you've heard, Glitter, the hardest thing to do is walk right up a staircase in a post plant in Siege, but he'll get a kill on his way up, so Ron will fall, but he'll hit 2 air jabs in the process. And now for sure his position is known. Glitter, this seems like it might all be but over.
It's a tough one, right? Looking towards the skyline, making sure that pressure isn't going to come from above, but he misses the forest for the trees as he finds himself dead from the very front of the bar area. It was the easy one for the attack on that. Yeah, you said it. Over-aggression. Just trying to make something happen, slow down some of that momentum, try to be a little proactive instead of reactive, and instead they end up paying for their hubris as now they find themselves down in the scoreline again. 3-2. So we're almost to the halfway mark.
One final chance here for a final form. Try and keep themselves at that expected scoreline that I was mentioning earlier of 3-3 in each half. They really need this round, Glitter. I'm just going to be honest. If they don't get this round and they let Outlast Black start to build some momentum, I don't feel good for their chances, quite honestly, because on a map like this, and with how Outlast Black are playing right now, they can really set up to counter-strat the way that Final Form like to play on attack. Final Form just like to run right in and take map control. If Outlast Black are playing operators like Fenrir and like Castle, when they get to defense, it'll be really hard for Final Form to do that because Outlast Black will have so much intel.
And not only that, no matter if it's 50-50 or not, we're still talking defensive-sided mostly, right? So Outlast Black already having hit their quota +1 as they take 3 on attack. You're right. If we can't see a win here, it's going to be a tough road to climb back up for Final Form on the back end of the half. So see what they brought to the table. A lot of the same, right? Still using those same operators, still going to be trying to set the pace here and dictate how fast this round is moving. They'll be doing the same, as you mentioned, on attack as well. So really kind of laying into some of that quick operator momentum here. No early aggression though, right? We're past 30 seconds in and haven't seen the spawn peak or the run out. And look at that, all 5 are still alive.
Yeah, much better start here from Final Form. They've kept themselves alive, played more passively in their off-site holds, and it's working out really well for them. They're going to start to force Outlast Black to burn through some of this initial utility and start to force their way in through some of this initial map control. But not only that, they're going to be burning out a lot of time, because it's going to take a lot of time for Outlast Black to actually clear these spaces, but that's a good start, as Ace will kill Ion, while sure you're not losing a lot of utility. That is a lot of your top floor control gone, as one of your Cocktail players is dead, but Sens is there to cover his teammate. There's a player prone inside of Cocktail, and then you also had Sens there. He's now dead, and that's one of your logic bombs gone and in the grave for the remainder of this round. Still, despite that, Dokkaebi kind of already has had her effect, and Clouds will have a nice effect on the Nexus. Final Form now with the lead, but it still just trades back and forth, now favoring Outlast Black.
Man, they took that real estate so fast and now find themselves with the man advantage. It's 3-2. All of the pressure here on the last round of the first half going to be put onto Fenrir and Sentry. And Fenrir not even up on the 3rd floor, right? Not going to put any of that pressure onto them. So they're going to get some drones out. Still got 60 seconds left. Plenty of time to figure out where they're at. They're going to find the Sentry, and they're going to be dealt with immediately as Swift is able to take Volspur down. Now puts it all onto Fenrir. Vertical is going to start to be opened up as the shotgun rains out from Gridlock and going to be dealt with. Headshot onto Sense. That's going to put it back in the favor and the round win for Outlast.
I gotta tell you, Glitter, that was a nice bit of team play from Outlast Black there. The way that they timed up that drone with the anticipated rotation back from, I believe it was Sens. No, actually, it was Volspur, I believe. Whoever it was over by Teacups, outside a pillar. That was just nice. The way that they droned him out immediately, tried to force him to rotate, and then had a coverage from above. That was a great little bit of team play to get themselves a firm hold on that round. And they did end up closing it out. It's 4-2, and exactly what we talked about, what we feared, has come to fruition. Outlast Black now with a sizable advantage heading onto their defensive half, and they get now the more favorable side generally, like you were saying. They get to sit back and wait and try to make Final Form come to them, and that's exactly what they're going to have to do. And I feel like it's going to get a little bit dire here, because Final Form, finding themselves down so much, are going to have to get frantic. And when you're being aggressive, sure, that's great. But there's a difference between coordinated aggression and frantic aggression. And I feel like frantic aggression works far less than coordinated does.
Absolutely, and it brings us operators like the Blitz, right? And the Send. So something quick for sure is going to be going on. You talked about it in the pre-show. Final Form love to get aggressive early. Well, the Blitz, the Sens, and the Glaz are speaking to exactly that. Gain some of that real estate, try to put the pressure on early, and try to catch Outlast on the back foot. The problem is it hasn't been working this game yet, right? And so on the side of the defense, we're still leaning into that intel with the Valkyrie, still getting that intel as well with the Fenrir. It's just going to make that quick action incredibly tough to pull off.
I feel like the reason behind them bringing some of these operators is so they can clear VIP. I believe we've seen this from, I believe it was East Coast who did it first back in stage 1, where they bring the Sens to mask the Blitz crossing into VIP to get the kill. But it's not going to be the easiest of tasks, as you've got Exalt sitting over inside of Whiskey, you've got a couple of Dreadnought mines, there's a PP as well. They're going to still go for it, as there goes one of the Sens gadgets to try and mask the cover, but it looks like it might have been a bait. Here comes the run from Kobe. But no, Ron's dead inside of VIP, so it seemingly has worked out really well. And that has allowed Cloud to push his way all the way up towards Whiskey, just on the doorstep of the site. Actually, could just run right in here, especially because it looks like the site's pretty soft.
Yeah, and not only that, we only have a few members down inside. Valkyrie sitting up in the pillar room up top, so really it's just Castle, Wamai, and Aruni that have to be dealt with, and Wamai is in the coat. It's going to see the Blitz flash come out. Starts to push in. He's going to find that. Whoop. Hello? Going to find him one as the buddy system is in place there, but Exalt able to take him off the board. But just like that, we find ourselves tied up into a 3-3. And, well, now, I mean, I'm feeling pretty good about the defense here.
Yeah, that TK was super unfortunate, but now Outlast Black have really come back into this round. They find themselves in an advantageous position despite how effective the early round rush was from Final Form. And not only that, now it seems Final Form are getting frantic. They're trying to just rush right in, and they're going to feed another pick to Exalt. They just run right into Kochek, and they die on the doorstep, literally and figuratively. It is now 5-2 for Outlast Black. They look really good right now.
I don't think you could have said it any better than a coordinated or frantic rush, Nom. And that's exactly what that was. That became incredibly frantic. Try to move that did pay off, right? They got the glass, able to bring out the double kill behind the wall of the Sens. But then, as the timer started to go down and they lost those two players and the unfortunate TK, then all of a sudden, it was just this frantic movement in through the, and I'm sorry to keep saying that word, but that's exactly what it was. This scared, quick action that didn't have really much thought behind it besides, we got to get this kill and we got to get this kill now. I mean, you summed it up perfectly.
We really need to see Final Form just reel it back in here for a second. They're trying to do too much. They need to go back to their fundamentals. Sure, yesterday, what they were doing, where they were just running in, sometimes without drones, sometimes with drones, and just relying on their gun skill alone was working. But against a team like Outlast Black, who have proven that they are a quality team and a quality opponent against the top teams in P2, like SSGA and Makers and Fluffy Aimers and all of those guys, they have proven that they are very good at shutting stuff like that down, especially because they like to do it too. So they know what to expect and generally where to expect it from. And they're doing a great job of stopping it. Like that Kochek play from the Wamai, that was perfectly set up to deny things like smoke canisters, like flash grenades that might have rained in there to try and clear that position out. And while sure, the TK didn't help, just in general, Final Form just tried to throw the kitchen sink at the problem, and it got repelled.
So, what do we do here? What's the win condition if you're Final Form? I think if we could summarize what you said, we need to see them slow it down, a nod towards some traditional siege, right? Play the buddy system, really make sure that you're using your drones like you were using your cameras on the defense, and then, you know, maybe we'll see a little bit of a comeback starting to happen here. But the other part of that is you're going to have to see Outlast miss, right? And I just don't see that being the case here. They're firing on all cylinders. They're definitely, if we know that Final Form is aggressive and likes to take that real estate early, of course Outlast is going to know that as well, having done their homework here. So maybe bring something, like you said, a little bit slower. It looks like a little bit more of a traditional setup, Nom, on the attacking operators that are being brought to the table. Feed suss out where those roamers are, a focus on the vertical game and getting those gadgets off the board. I like the adaptation here. Will it be enough? Well, we got 2 minutes and 30 seconds to find out.
Honestly, I really like this lineup, like you were saying, from lineup, especially because of what Outlast Black have brought out here. Now, C4 does rain out, I believe it was from Nexus, but it will miss and it'll force him back. In general, this lineup from Outlast Black is far more intel-based, not utility-based. There's not really a lot of intel that you have to clear out. And so I really like the read of bringing something like the Dokkaebi and the IQ because it can help you spot it out and avoid it much more effectively. Now, the first thing you have to do really here is work your way into piano, as you see so many times on the top floor. You also need to be careful that you drone out and clear Nexus very quickly, because if you don't, he can just sit here and rat and find another freebie.
That, and of course, Valkyrie with her cams are going to be playing below, so definitely going to be somebody to take off the board first, because it's an easy C4, right? Somebody on the cam saying he's there, send it, and they get him, and they're going to do exactly that. They suss out the Valkyrie, is taken down. A little bit of damage done here as the Vigil finds some onto the Dokkaebi and onto the Buck. It's going to be Mossy that end up getting the equalizer here, as we find ourselves in a 4-4 in a low health scenario. They didn't find him, and he gets himself a triple on the round because of it. Looking for more towards the back end here, and they're going to take him down off the back end of the stairs, and now, just like that, it's a 1v4. Does find the down onto the Malusi, but almost all for naught, as find themselves in a tough position. Drop down the hatch. It's going to see Ace to clean it up. Outlast looking pretty good here on their match point scenario.
Oh, Outlast Black look amazing, but another thing, they had the lineup for it. They had the Dokkaebi. They had the IQ. They had everything in place to clear out Swifted. Or not Swifted, rather, Nexus. But they didn't. They had the calls going in. They surely had to have heard him just sitting inside of Cigar. That's the first place you need to clear. Like,
Attackers need to locate
sure, you can run down to the second floor like you saw Wolfsper do, but you can't just ignore the top floor. You have to dedicate someone to either watch it or clear it. Preferably two people if you're going to clear it. But they didn't do that. They sat at the top of red, they walked down red, and they skip steps. That's what they're doing right now. They're just skipping steps, and the steps that they skip are the most important steps, and then they have gaps, and it comes back to haunt them, like you saw in the last round. Nexus just sits there for free, runs around, finds a quick triple kill, and everything that Final Form had going for them just was halted.
Yeah, not only did they not drone him out, but then they fed him one at a time, and that's tough, right? When everybody's got the gun skill here, right? These are all high caliber players, so they're gonna win ones. So feed them. If you're gonna miss it, and you finally get the call, then you got to send the buddy system in to take that swing at the same time. He gets 3 out of it, puts us on a match point scenario. We now have to see Final Form be perfect for 4 in a row, and they're going to have to do it against a ton of intel, right? It's the Valkyrie, it's the Pulse, it's the Mozzie. They're going to see where you're coming from, and they're going to get these kills relatively early, and there it is. And what a kill to get, too, right? The person that can suss all of that out, IQ off the board, body balance back into Outlast, and they're looking to close out their first one.
It looks good. It really does. Glitter. Killing the IQ is a great start. But not only that, I would argue that Outlast Black have even more intel than they did last round. You lost the Vigil, sure, but you gain a Pulse. You gain the Aruni, and the Aruni will go right to work. Finding a kill onto Clouds, that's the Deimos gone. That's going to be very helpful for keeping Swifted alive. It's going to make it even more of a nightmare situation trying to deal with him. Now we're just jumping into top red and feeding picks to the Pulse. Swifted with another one. Ions and Kobe left all alone in a 2v5 here now. Just try and save the game and keep Outlast Black from getting their first win. It's not looking good, especially as Swifted looks to go for a jump out here. He could put the nail in the coffin.
That's right. Not even looking at the right place for the jump out either. So could have been a bit of siege timing. It's a low health scenario for Ash. She sits on that 40 HP. A minute and 20 left to try to figure something out. But there's just no way Outlast is going to give away bodies. We find ourselves in that GG go next scenario. Now, he's got all this intel being fed by the Pulse, know exactly where he's at. Gives a call, he's going to Skylight. Somebody might take a pot shot here, but unlikely, right? Because you just don't need to. You don't need to throw away the bodies here.
No, you definitely don't. Especially when they have no idea that he's up here. Swifted will feed the intel right to another one. And how about that? He'll end the game off for himself, take matters into his own hand. And it is about as dominant as you can get if you are Outlast Black. You came close in your first 3 games, losing them in max regulation. And on playday number 5, Outlast Black pick up their very first win here in Season 7 of XGS.
Boy, and well deserved. This looked like the Outlast name that you know and love, right? They just went in, were able to have a phenomenal side on the attack, took the real estate, got the kills, and then were able to close it out on the defense. Not going to say that it was expected, but I'm not surprised.
I am honestly very surprised. I sure thought that Outlast Black, yes, was a very good team, but maybe call it recency bias. After how Final Form looked against Team Sesh yesterday on Border, where they looked so coordinated and so cohesive with their aggressive strategies that they wanted to do, I thought that they would put up at least a much better fight than this, because they were going to be able to capitalize on some of the little mistakes and little, what's the word I'm looking for here, little, I guess, area setup mistakes that they were making, because by no means was Outlast Black setup perfect. They had a little bit of a mistiming when it came to their roam, because honestly, if I was Nexus in that situation in round number 8, I'm falling back when I hear them start to drop through their red. He stuck around, it worked out. I can't judge him too much for that. Overall, Final Form definitely need to go back to the drawing board here, figure out what it is that they're doing wrong with their fundamentals.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe get another chance to do that a little bit later on. That's game 1 done, Nam. Just like that, 7-2. It felt like it went by super quick. Luckily, there's some more Siege going on this evening.
Oh yeah, we got another game, but we got a break before that. It was a quick one, folks. Game number 1 is done, but when we come back, we got another Group A matchup for you, so don't go anywhere.